The first bruise was no larger than a thumbprint, dark purple against skin so soft it almost glowed in the afternoon sunlight. It rested just above 6-year-old Nora Whitmore's elbow, hidden beneath the sleeve of her tiny school sweater until she reached for a glass of milk at the kitchen table. Her father, Owen Whitmore, froze in place. His heartbeat slowed for a single terrifying second before racing faster than it ever had. Children stumbled. They fell. They scraped their knees every day. But something deep inside him whispered that this bruise was different. Then he rolled up her sleeve and found another, and another. Small fingerprints circled her arm like invisible handcuffs. In that instant, the quiet dream of their new beginning shattered into a nightmare neither of them could escape. If you believe kindness, courage, and second chances can change lives, thank you for reading. Enjoy the story, and share it with someone who believes one caring person can make all the difference. For 3 years Owen had lived for one purpose alone, giving Nora the childhood she deserved after losing her mother, Elise, to a sudden illness. Every sunrise began with packing lunches, braiding messy hair the best he could despite never mastering it, reading bedtime stories, and working long shifts as an independent electrician just to keep their small rented house warm. Every dollar mattered. Every smile from Nora reminded him why he refused to give up. When Nora received a scholarship to attend the prestigious Bright Horizon Academy, it felt like life had finally rewarded all those sleepless nights. The academy belonged to the massive Hawthorne Education Group, a company praised nationwide for innovation, child development, and excellence. Television commercials showed laughing children, smiling teachers, and promises that every child would be treated like family. Owen believed every word. On Nora's first morning, sunshine flooded the neighborhood. She wore a new backpack nearly as large as she was. She waved excitedly from the school gate before disappearing inside, turning only once to flash the brightest smile her father had seen in months. That smile never returned that day. When Owen picked her up that afternoon, Nora was strangely quiet. She stared out the passenger window during the drive home. Normally she talked non-stop about birds, books, clouds, and imaginary kingdoms. This time she answered every question with tiny nods. He assumed she was exhausted. Until dinner. That was when he saw the bruises. His hands trembled as he gently asked what had happened. Nora hesitated for so long that the silence became unbearable. Finally she whispered that she wasn't supposed to tell anyone because good girls don't make trouble. Those words struck Owen harder than any punch. He calmly continued asking gentle questions, careful not to frighten her further. Little by little, the truth emerged. During class, Nora had accidentally spilled paint onto a table. Instead of comforting her, an assistant teacher had dragged her into a storage room, squeezed her arm painfully, and warned that children who embarrassed the academy would never make friends. Another employee watched without saying a word. Nora thought she had done something unforgivable. Owen barely slept that night. He photographed every bruise. He wrote down every detail Nora remembered. At sunrise he marched into Bright Horizon Academy carrying only a folder and the determination of a father who had nothing left to fear. The receptionist smiled politely until she saw the photographs. Minutes later administrators gathered in a polished conference room decorated with awards and motivational slogans. They insisted children often imagine things. They suggested Nora bruised easily. They hinted that perhaps a struggling single father misunderstood discipline. Every sentence felt colder than the last. Then Owen noticed something strange. The principal seemed far more worried about the photographs than about Nora herself. When he requested security footage, panic flashed across several faces. They refused. That refusal answered every question. Owen left without shouting. Without threatening. Without making a scene. Instead he walked directly to the local child protection office, then to the police, then to a journalist he had once helped by repairing storm-damaged wiring without charging a cent. By evening, investigators had officially requested the school surveillance recordings. Bright Horizon Academy claimed the cameras had suffered a technical malfunction. Unfortunately for them, one employee had secretly copied the recordings months earlier. Her name was Iris Caldwell. She had worked at the academy for 5 years and had watched management ignore complaint after complaint. Children were intimidated. Parents were manipulated. Teachers who objected quietly disappeared from employment records. She had spent months collecting evidence because she knew someday someone brave enough would finally ask the right questions. Owen became that person. By midnight, Iris contacted investigators anonymously. The videos revealed horrors no parent should ever witness. Children forced into closets. Staff grabbing tiny wrists. Teachers humiliating frightened students. Administrators deleting incident reports before parents ever saw them. The abuse wasn't isolated. It was systematic. The next morning, every major news network carried the story. Parents rushed toward the academy demanding answers. Police vehicles surrounded the campus. Former employees began speaking publicly. Dozens of families came forward describing unexplained bruises, nightmares, panic attacks, and children suddenly refusing to attend school. Within 24 hours, Hawthorne Education Group lost nearly half its market value. Corporate partners suspended contracts. Government agencies froze expansion projects. Major investors abandoned the company. Executives who had spent years protecting profits instead of children suddenly faced criminal investigations. The collapse had begun. But for Owen, victory felt strangely empty. Every television headline reminded him why this nightmare existed in the first place. Nora still woke screaming at night. She still flinched whenever someone reached toward her too quickly. She blamed herself. Healing proved far harder than exposing the truth. Owen reduced his work schedule despite desperately needing money. He attended every counseling session. They painted together. Walked through parks. Fed ducks beside quiet lakes. He reminded Nora every single day that brave people tell the truth. Little by little, the frightened little girl who had disappeared behind silence began returning. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Thousands of parents formed support groups online. Counselors volunteered free therapy. Local businesses donated school supplies to affected families. Teachers from other schools organized community reading events to help frightened children rebuild trust. The story that began with bruises slowly transformed into one filled with compassion. Even Iris finally revealed her identity. She apologized publicly for not speaking sooner. No one blamed her. Instead, parents embraced her because she had risked everything to expose the truth before even more children suffered. Months later, a national inquiry uncovered widespread corruption inside Hawthorne Education Group. Financial records showed executives had rewarded managers for keeping complaint numbers artificially low. Employees were pressured into silence through intimidation and legal threats. Child welfare had become less important than quarterly profits. The company filed for bankruptcy before the investigation ended. Its name disappeared from school buildings across the country. For many people, it represented justice. For Owen, it represented a warning. Never assume a beautiful building hides beautiful people. One crisp autumn morning nearly a year later, Nora started first grade at a small neighborhood school. The classrooms were simple. The playground was old. There were no giant advertisements or luxurious facilities. Only caring teachers. When Owen walked her to the entrance, she squeezed his hand. This time her smile reached her eyes. She ran toward her classroom, then suddenly turned around. Instead of waving nervously as she had on that terrible first day, she spread both arms wide and shouted that she loved him before disappearing inside. Owen stood there for several minutes, tears quietly filling his eyes. Not because he was afraid anymore. Because hope had finally returned. The scars remained. Some always would. But scars also remind us that wounds can heal. One father's refusal to ignore a few mysterious bruises protected countless children he would never meet. His courage reminded an entire community that silence protects cruelty, while truth, even painful truth, can save lives. If this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments. Your words may encourage someone who is afraid to speak up for a child who needs help. As the afternoon sun bathed the little school in golden light, Owen watched children laughing across the playground. Nora's laughter rose above them all, light, fearless, and free. In that beautiful moment, he realized justice had never been about bringing down a company. It had always been about giving one little girl the confidence to smile again, and ensuring thousands of other children would never have to hide bruises beneath their sleeves. Thank you for reading this story. May we always choose courage over silence, compassion over fear, and hope over despair.